Hello everybody, it's Chaz in Omaha, and today I am talking about a banger of an announcement that was dropped on us by Blizzard at BlizzCon about World of Warcraft Classic. I have not been this excited about a video game thing since they first announced Final Fantasy VII Remake. So, BlizzCon has announced the Season of Discovery, as you can see here on my monitor. And what the discovery means is basically we're going to be able to discover secrets that allow us to get new abilities that didn't exist within the original Classic. And these runes are basically here to augment the class experience. We know that there's a lot of weaknesses or gaps in classes within Classic that makes the balance a lot more lopsided than it really needs to be, right? But also, in addition to augmenting weaknesses, a lot of these runes also enable straight up new ways of playing. You can be a legit rogue tank, warlock tank, you can be a mage healer, druid cats can provide wind fury. It's got all sorts of really interesting stuff. So they gave some examples here on their the Wowhead has some examples, and here's the Ret preview with okay, Ret gets Crusader Strike, which is going to be amazing for them because their absolute dumpster fire DPS is probably going to be pretty high with this. They gave them a taunt, which Paladin tanks sorely needed in Classic to be really good, right? And they're getting an AoE seal, which is sort of like the Seal of Blood in BC that killed you, plus it AoEs a little bit. It's pretty great. So I'm going to go through a couple of combos that I find particularly interesting, and I'm kind of torn between Druid and Shaman because of these. So we can go ahead and go with the Druid runes. By the way, this page I'm looking at right now, I'll put in the description, and you can get to this Wowhead article to see every single rune that we currently know about for the Season of Discovery. So for Druid, there are some options here that makes Boomkin sound like it might actually be pretty good. We have Star Surge, which is just basically a retail-ish spell. It's changed a little bit. It's not quite exactly the same. We have Sunfire, so I guess you're going to have 2 dots as a Boomkin, which could be pretty interesting. It doesn't say anything about Sunfire being an AoE dot, because that'd probably be too strong in Classic, right? And then they also have this Fury of the Storm Rage, which gives Wrath 100% reduced mana cost. So, if you're playing a Boomkin, just like Shadow Priest and Ret and Enhancement were originally, they would just go right? And there was nothing you could do about it, and that's why they were basically terrible after about 45 seconds of a fight. But this sort of solves that problem, at least for Boomkins. So this is pretty interesting. If you're a cat, there's a combo that sounds really good. You can get this Lacerate attack that does a bleed and does more and more damage each attack. Maybe this will get you killed as a cat, maybe it won't. But they also have Mangle, which makes them take more damage from your bleeds and hits really hard. And then also cats get this thing called Wild Strikes, which is basically cat form Wind Fury for your group, which I guess is the way that they're going to give Alliance Wind Fury, right? Because that was always one of the big contentions. Alliance don't have Wind Fury, Horde don't have Blessing of Kings and Wisdom, so we'll see what goes on there. For Bear, they have this Survival of the Fittest thing. This might need to be nerfed or something. I think Bear tanks might be too strong with this. But maybe that's the point, right? Maybe they just want Bears and Paladin tanks to be better than Warrior tanks, And then Bears also would get access to the Lacerate that gives a high amount of threat for the bleed. And they could get the Mangle too. And they could also technically get the Wind Fury, if your group really needed it and you didn't need, I don't know, the Lacerate threat or something. And then they have the Resto one. I'm less excited about the Resto, but I am excited about this idea where you'd have a mana-free spell you could spam to DPS while you're healing. so you don't have to sit there, right? And you don't have to shapeshift to use all your mana and stuff. And then we have Life Bloom, which seems like a pretty decent single target heal, but also can stack up on the same target. They have Wild Growth, which gives druids an AoE heal. This might actually just be broken in Classic. We'll have to see. Maybe it'll cost way too much mana or something, right? So that's pretty much it for druids. The other one that I'm really excited about is Shaman. Now, I really liked Enhancement Shaman throughout the first 3 WoW expansions. So the idea of getting dual wield spec right away for enhancement is very exciting to me. And you get 5% hit, which is pretty important, right, for this to be functional. In combination with that, you can also get Shamanistic Rage, which fixes the problem of enhancement being ultra all the time, right? And then they also gave you Lava Lash, which could like make your DPS pretty high, but they also gave you this Molten Blast thing that kind of looks like it might be something you could use as an AoE alternative to Lava Lash. And then later on, maybe you could use both of them, right? So that sounds pretty good. And then we have the Shaman tank. This thing is pretty much like the crux of the Shaman tank. It gives you a ton of health, a ton of damage reduction, and it gives you double threat. And then in combination with that, they have this shield mastery thing that gives you a ton of armor when you block, plus flat block percent chance and block value, and you get mana back when you block. So this is like, this seems pretty giga for Shaman tanking. I think it's going to be legit with this. I think Shaman tanking might actually be legit, which would be really, really fun. And then you also have Shamanistic Rage or Water Shield. I'm not entirely sure which one of these would be better for a tank, but both of them seem like they would have their place, yeah? So that's pretty much it for the highlights. I highly recommend, if you're at all interested in WoW Classic / Classic Plus, to take a look at this and investigate and see what you might want to try, because they're going to let you do some weird stuff. They're going to let you do some weird stuff, and it's really exciting. So thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll bring more updates about this later as we get more announcements. Have a good one, everybody.